Hi, this is Heather Banks for Language and Literacy, ECCE 2115, Miss Tamika Brundridge. Let's see, this is fall of 2021. Please make it end. So right now I'm about to do the video portion of the project and record an informational session. I'm going to present it like I was a preschool teacher sending out an informational video to the parents of my 4-year-old classroom and go over some of the various points that are laid out in the rubric. Hi everybody, I'm Miss Heather and I'm so excited to have your 4-year-old with me in class this year. This video is to talk a little bit about language and literacy development. So often I think parents are underinformed about goals and expectations for their preschoolers. So I just wanted to take a minute and talk through some things. And as always, I'm available to you if you have any questions following this video. So language development and literacy development are actually very interconnected. So often we think of language and literacy as simply reading and writing mechanics, but it actually has to do with whole language development for your child to be able to receive and respond to communications. So one of the things that I think a lot of parents of 4-year-olds or preschoolers experience is a pressure for their 4-year-old or pre-K child to finish the year reading and writing, to go to kindergarten a reader. And I just want to let you know right now, that is not a typical neurodevelopment milestone that educators expect to see. In education, children are considered learners and listeners from the very beginning. We know that even in the womb, playing classical music can help slow the baby's heart rate, that they respond to different voices, especially their mother and father. And that's why white noise machines are so essential when they're first born, because they're used to just the sounds of the body and sounds around them. And so listening and hearing are really important in this. But in that next stage of development, when children begin to articulate, to have word sounds and things like that, I really think that we try to rush students into like a phonetic or educational understanding of letters. And so our goal, before they get to the 3-year-old class is that they can identify their letters and they can do their letter sounds. And really it is more important that they know their letter sounds than that they know their names of their letters. And so there's a lot of things that you can do to support that. And I'm sure you've done really well in that. And that's why we're going to have a great year this year in our 4-year-old classroom. Now, in our 4-year-old classroom, we are going to work on the names of letters. But again, my primary goal is that your child will actually know the letter sounds, that they can do A, and a. And we'll do little hand gestures to help them go through there, because our goal is to engage in something called phonemic awareness. Now, a lot of times parents are very in tune to one method of learning or another, where they really want their students to have a sight word chart and memorization, or they want to do letter flashcards, or they only want to do phonics and things like that. And while both are important, and I'm not discounting any of those or how you raise your child, a whole language approach and phonemic awareness is really what we're aiming for here. And so in our 4-year-old classroom, we're going to be working on our letters, writing them. So we're also not going to learn them in alphabetical order. And I know that they just blow your mind. But as we're working on the fine motor skills of writing their letters and tracing, we actually teach letters that have straight lines like T and I, before we teach our curved letters like C. And your child definitely will probably have a grasp on how to do it, but what we're doing is refining their fine motor skills on this. And so we're going to go through here, and one of the goals that we really have is that in our classroom, we've met this goal, is that we have what's called a print-rich environment. So everything is labeled. And so you're going to see our toy bins are going to have a picture and a word, and they're going to have labels. And our calendar is going to have a picture and a word. And so if you really want to increase your child's phonemic awareness, that's something that you can just pick up at home. Go through and label things, have a picture and a word. But really the simplest thing to do is to model language for your children, because we are their educators, and that is fantastic, and we do not take that job lightly, but you're their parents, you're their family, and that is actually what influences the majority of their language acquisition, is how language and print materials are modeled and handled in the home. So our best recommendation is to narrate just as you play. Hey, I see that Sally is playing with a purple block. Is purple your favorite, Sally? What other color blocks do you have, Sally? All of these things are simply engaging their awareness. And if you have the time to go through and label, and you could say, oh, Sally, let's look at the chart. Can you show me where purple is? Oh, okay, let's spell out purple, Purple. These are all things that are going to gain your child's just vocabulary and phonemic awareness and sight awareness. But here's the thing, they're not going to be independent readers. The 4-year-old is not the time to be an independent reader. That is not going to come until 1st or 2nd grade. So in the education world, children are treated as learning to read in kindergarten, in 1st grade, and in 2nd grade. Okay? They're just learning letters here in 4th grade. It's not until 3rd grade that they actually read to learn. And that's a big flip that we want to help you understand. Learning to read and reading to learn, which means that the information processing that your pre-K is going to have is not going to come from the printed words in their books. It's going to come through hands-on activity. It's going to come through physical demonstration. It's going to come through verbal instruction. It's going to come through an illustration. And so you're going to see a lot of paper this year, and you're going to see a lot of bring home activities. You're going to see line tracing. You're going to see letter tracing. You're going to see word collages and picture collages. And all of those things are encompassing. And as a parent, myself, my temptation is to simply file that in the garbage for them. But if you can help your student pick out like one thing a week that represents just a literacy understanding. So maybe it's their word tree or their letter tree, or maybe it's something where they wrote their name on it themselves, which is a really big milestone in 4-year-old classrooms. That could really be something that makes your child very proud. So, my recommendation is I'm going to send home a lot of things, maybe save one thing a week for the child to go back and look through. It's also great for you to keep a portfolio of your child's work so you can really see the progress that they have from beginning of the year to the end of the year, because I promise it's there, but so often when we're involved in the everyday, we don't get to see the bigger picture. So when we're in class, we're going to try to narrate things. We're going to put words and letters in front of your student, and I'm sure you're going to be doing that at home too. But the biggest thing that every researcher has ever come down to is that a parent reading to the child is the most invaluable tool that you can have to raise your child's ability in reading and overall literacy. So if we can just encourage you to read with your child, one of the things we want you to do is just to use your finger. So here's my example. This is Where is the Green Sheep? It's a great book. It's cute and fun and fast. But one of the things we want to encourage you to do is just to run your finger along from left to right as you read, because left to right awareness is actually one of the things that we're hoping our 4-year-olds grasp this year. And it doesn't mean that they're ready to read, but they understand how to read. And this is tough. They're not learning to read, but they are learning how to read. Okay, so they're being able to notice in punctuation and the end of the sentences, and that the questions sound different than the exclamations or the periods. And so using dynamics in your reading with your student is just an excellent way to raise their literacy level, and just teaching them the basic things. We turn the pages, we read from left to right, we read from top to bottom. Simply the order of reading is one of the things that they can learn this year from you and from us as well. We'll be working on that in the classroom. Our main goal here is just to support you as the parent, as the primary caregiver, and to support you in the educational process. So if you ever want a book list, advice, or need to borrow a book from the classroom, we are so happy to do whatever we can to support literacy in your students. So reach out to me if you have any questions, and I look forward to having your 4-year-old in pre-K this year.